is actually going to be one of the harder topics we probably work on this year. Okay, just because for me this is something that it's kind of hard to see, and it's something that you have to be able to see. Okay, so this is going to be difficult. I'm going to warn you right now. All right, but hopefully once you do them enough, you start to see the pattern, and that's going to be your biggest thing here. You've got to be able to see the pattern, and this is factoring by grouping. The reason I think this is somewhat difficult is because you've got to be able to see how they should be grouped. And we've got some requirements for when a polynomial can be factored, and it's only if the following conditions exist. There are 4 or more terms, so you can't do this with 3 or less. Terms have common factors that can be grouped together. And then there are 2 common factors that are identical or additive inverses of each other. This will make sense once you actually see it. Okay? Don't worry about it too much. So for example, if I had ax plus by plus ay plus by, obviously you can see these first 2 terms have an x, these second 2 terms have a y, so we've got common factors that can be grouped together, ax plus bx plus ay plus by. And then notice, when I factor out my x in this first part and factor out my y in the second part, this is what this third part is saying. We've got identical common factors, a plus b and a plus b. So then you can write it as the quantity of x plus y times the quantity of a plus b. Alright? That's because I have x times a plus b plus y times a plus b. So I can just write it as x plus y times a plus b. This is how the format will always be. Obviously the numbers will be different, but this is the format that you need to be comfortable with. Group them together, factor things out, be left with a common factor, and then rewrite it in this last step. Okay? And I don't really know what else I can tell you other than show you an example. So here we go. We've got 4qr plus 8r plus 3q plus 6. Now what makes it hard is that if you look at this, I see an r and an r, so obviously I can group those together. Here I see I have a 3 and a 6. And those have a common factor of 3. So it looks like those could be grouped together. But what makes it tricky is that this 4qr also has a q, and this 3 has a q. But what's most important for you to see is that you're going to be left with the same thing. Okay? Notice, if I would take a q out of this and a q out of this other term would have an r, and the r would be left inside of it. So we wouldn't be left with those common factors. So you may even start a problem like this and realize you're not going to have a common factor, and you're just going to have to go back and try to group them again. When we get into factoring, and we're just starting it now, we're going to get into a little bit more in a few sections. Okay? It's going to take time. You're just going to have to accept that right now. It's not going to come easily to very many of you, if any of you, and it will take some time, and it's going to take trying one thing, seeing if it works, and you might have to try something else. Okay, so do not be discouraged because this seems confusing or you don't get it right away. I didn't get this right away when I was learning it. Very few people do. So I'm going to group them 4qr plus 8r plus 3q plus 6. I'm grouping them this way, and I can see here I have a GCF of 4r because 4 and 8, GCF is 4. R appears in each of them, so I can take out an R. Plus, and then we'll worry about the second part in a little bit. 4QR, when I take out the 4R, what times 4R is 4QR? Well, it would just be Q. Plus, 4R times what is 8R? Well, 4R times 2 is 8R. So I get 4R times the quantity Q plus 2. And again, you can always check your work by distributing this and seeing if you get what you started with. Looking over here, 3a and 6, I see a GCF of 3. 3 times what is 3a? Well, it's a. Plus 3 times what is 6? 2. I'm sorry, this isn't an a, this is a q. So we get q plus 2. Now, this is that common factor that I wanted to get. Q plus 2. Q plus 2. I got the same thing left inside parentheses for each of them, which means now I can do this third step. So I can rewrite it as the quantity of 4r plus 3 times q plus 2. And that's factoring by grouping. Okay? I wish I had some great trick to tell you, but I just don't know of a trick that exists, okay, other than just trying it one way and trying to make sure you get this common factor. If you were to factor and not get this common factor, you'd have to go back and try to group them a different way.